All right, let's dive in, shall we? Today, well, it's a story everyone knows, right?
Oh, I'd say so.
The creation story from Genesis, chapters 2 and 3, Adam and Eve. But, we're going to unpack all those little intriguing details.
Absolutely.
And I think even if you think you know this story,
Yeah.
you might be surprised.
You'd be surprised by what we uncover. So,
It's a story that's resonated for centuries,
oh, yeah?
really raises some profound questions about humanity, choice, and the consequences of our actions. Really relevant today.
Exactly. So Genesis opens with this, grand creation of everything, right?
Yeah.
Heavens and earth. The whole shebang.
The whole 9 yards.
But then in chapter 2, this is where things get personal. God spends 6 days creating, takes a break on the 7th, the origin of the Sabbath.
That's a good point.
Now, some people might see this as a minor detail,
Yeah.
but it actually kind of hints at a key theme right from the start.
If even the Creator rested,
Right.
what does that tell us about the importance of,
Balance.
balance?
Yeah, rejuvenation.
Rejuvenation.
Yeah. And
It's subtle but powerful.
It is.
And from there, we move to the creation of Adam,
Right.
formed from dust, given life by God's breath. And then
It's pretty cool.
it is.
Yeah.
And the text paints this incredibly vivid picture of the Garden of Eden where Adam is placed.
Oh,
This paradise, river, trees bursting with delicious fruit, and even the mysterious tree of life.
sounds idyllic, right?
It does.
But, then things get interesting.
yeah.
God, in his wisdom,
Right.
recognizes that it's not good for Adam to be alone.
No.
He creates all these animals
No.
and even lets Adam have a go at naming them.
I like that part.
But none of them are quite the right fit.
None of them work.
No. It's like God's acknowledging that
Yeah.
even in paradise,
Mm-hmm.
companionship is key.
It really is.
Yeah. So,
He creates Eve,
yeah,
and not from the dust like Adam,
right.
but from his rib,
Interesting.
which really emphasizes this deep connection.
Absolutely, a shared origin.
Shared origin, yeah.
The text highlights that distinct bond, even implying a level of intimacy and equality that was pretty remarkable for the time.
Wow.
Yeah. But then the story takes a turn.
Uh-oh.
God gives them a single restriction. Don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Ah, yes, the forbidden fruit.
Right.
This is where we meet our antagonist, the serpent.
Yes. This cunning and deceptive creature engages Eve in conversation.
Oh, he's clever.
He is.
Yeah.
It's like the original influencer almost.
Planting those seeds of doubt
Yes.
about God's instructions. Like, did God really say?
Can't eat from any tree.
I know, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the serpent's argument.
It's clever.
So clever.
It appeals to Eve's desire for knowledge, for understanding.
Mhm.
Basically saying, eating this fruit will make you like God,
Wow.
knowing good and evil.
It's a temptation that's still so relevant today.
Oh, I think so.
That allure of forbidden knowledge.
Yes.
The promise of power.
Absolutely.
So Eve, swayed by the serpent's words
Right.
and the appeal of this fruit,
Yeah.
good for food and pleasant to the eyes,
Right.
takes a bite. And of course, she shares it with Adam.
Of course.
And suddenly their eyes are opened.
yeah.
They realize they're
That's
naked.
right.
And shame enters the picture for the first time.
It does.
It's like their innocence is shattered in that moment.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a shift in their awareness, this
Yeah.
new understanding of their vulnerability.
Right.
And they hide from God.
Oh, of course God knows
Oh, he knows.
exactly what they've done.
He knows.
This is where the blame game starts.
Oh, yeah.
Adam points the finger at Eve.
Oh, classic.
Eve blames the serpent. Even in the Garden of Eden,
Right.
people were trying to avoid taking responsibility.
It's timeless.
It's so relatable, right?
It's this timeless human tendency.
It is. It is.
And in that moment of disobedience and blame, we see the consequences unfold. The serpent is cursed to crawl.
Right.
Eve is told she will experience pain in childbirth.
Oh, wow.
And Adam is destined for a life of toil and sweat for his food. Truly, paradise lost. God banishes them from Eden with cherubim and a flaming sword guarding the way back.
Yeah.
There's a sense of permanent separation from that idyllic state.
Yeah, it's a powerful image.
It is.
And the consequences are severe.
Yes, they are.
But, you raised an interesting point earlier about God clothing Adam and Eve before sending them out.
Right.
Some might see that as a sign of compassion,
Yeah.
even in their disobedience.
Sure.
Could it be that the punishment isn't purely punitive,
Right.
but also contains an element of protection?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
It really highlights how this story is open to interpretation. It's been used to explain the origin of sin and suffering in the world. It emphasizes the concept of free will and the weighty consequences that come with choice.
Right.
But it also shows that even in our failings,
Yeah.
grace can exist.
You know, as we've seen the story of Adam and Eve, it's a lot more than just a simple story, right?
Yeah.
It's woven with these profound themes
It is.
that have captivated people
For centuries.
centuries.
It's true. And it's not a story with a single fixed meaning either.
Right, right.
Over time, different interpretations have emerged, reflecting how cultures and theological perspectives have evolved.
So instead of seeing it as this like straightforward account,
Yeah,
we can kind of look at these different layers of meaning and see what resonates with us.
absolutely.
So what are some of the key takeaways
Yeah.
that people have drawn from this narrative?
Well, one of the most prominent interpretations
Okay.
centers on the concept of original sin and the origin of suffering.
Right.
The act of disobedience, Adam and Eve choosing to go against God's command, is viewed as the catalyst that brought sin and its consequences into the world.
Right.
This idea of original sin has had a huge impact on Christian theology,
Oh, fantastic.
shaping views on human nature
Yeah.
and the need for redemption.
So you're saying that one single choice had this ripple effect impacting all of humanity.
That's how it's often understood.
It's a heavy concept.
It is a heavy concept, and it raises questions about the nature of free will.
Oh, yeah.
Adam and Eve were given a choice,
Right.
a clear instruction, and they deliberately chose to disobey.
Yeah, they do.
This points to this inherent tension between divine will and human agency.
It makes you think,
It does.
how much control do we actually have
Yeah, that's the question.
over our destinies?
Right.
Like if one choice can have such far-reaching consequences.
Absolutely.
Like this story is prompting us to think about,
Yeah.
the limits of free will, right?
Yeah.
And how our choices might be influenced by forces beyond our understanding.
Yeah, it's not simple.
It's not a simple do this, don't do that.
No, not at all.
No.
Now, some theologians interpret the story allegorically,
Oh, okay.
focusing on the symbolic meaning rather than a literal interpretation of events.
Okay.
They might view the serpent as a representation of temptation,
Right.
or that inner struggle between desire and obedience.
So it adds like another layer of complexity, right?
It does.
It's not just about what happened in the garden, but about our inner conflicts we all face.
Exactly.
It's like this story becomes a mirror,
Yeah,
reflecting our own struggles with temptation.
a mirror to our own lives.
I like that.
Now, even within this framework of consequences and sin,
Yeah.
the story highlights God's justice and mercy.
Okay.
There is punishment for disobedience, of course.
Right.
But there's also an element of grace.
Right.
God doesn't abandon Adam and Eve.
He doesn't.
He clothes them, showing continued care for them, even after their transgression.
I can see how some might argue that the punishments seem harsh, though.
Sure.
Like, how do you reconcile that with this idea of God's mercy?
Well, that's where the different interpretations come into play. Some might argue that the punishments are symbolic,
Okay.
representing the natural consequences of turning away from God.
Right.
Others might see them as necessary to maintain order and justice in the world.
It's interesting how this single story
Yeah.
can spark such varied interpretations.
It is. It speaks to the story's enduring power.
Yeah.
Now, it's also worth noting that the serpent,
Yeah, the serpent.
who plays such a pivotal role, takes on additional layers of meaning in later Christian tradition.
Okay.
The serpent becomes identified with Satan,
Oh, wow.
a malevolent force acting against God's plan.
So it's not just a talking snake anymore.
Not exactly.
It's like this representation of a larger cosmic struggle
Yeah, it is.
between good and evil.
It adds another dimension to the story, framing the temptation of Adam and Eve as part of a grander conflict, one that extends beyond the confines of the garden.
It definitely raises the stakes. It's like we're not just dealing with Adam and Eve and their choices,
Right.
but with these powerful forces at play.
Exactly. And that brings us to a crucial point. How does this ancient narrative, with all its interpretations and symbolism, connect with our lives today?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
It feels like there are so many parallels between the challenges Adam and Eve faced and the dilemmas we grapple with in the 21st century. I mean, it's like we're surrounded by like forbidden fruit
Oh, yeah.
in the modern world, right?
Absolutely.
Instant gratification, the allure of, material possessions,
Right.
that constant pressure to succeed.
It never ends.
It's like the serpent's whispers have multiplied, promising us fulfillment and happiness if we just take a bite.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, and just like in the story,
Yeah.
our choices have consequences.
Oh, they do.
Both for ourselves and for those around us.
Absolutely.
We make decisions we regret. We sometimes hurt others
Mm-hmm.
or even damage our own well-being.
Yeah.
It can feel overwhelming at times,
It can.
like the weight of the world is
Yeah.
on our shoulders.
The story reminds us
Yeah,
that our actions have a ripple effect.
right.
It challenges us to be mindful of the choices we're making.
Even the small ones.
Even the small ones, yeah.
So it's a call to move beyond just focusing on avoiding the,
The big sins.
the so-called big sins.
Yeah.
And to start recognizing those subtle temptations that, whisper in our ear every day.
All the time.
That extra slice of cake when you're trying to be healthy.
Right, yeah.
That little white lie.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
avoid a difficult conversation.
Right.
Those seemingly insignificant choices can add up
Oh, they can.
and lead us down a path we didn't intend to take.
Absolutely. And then there's that whole issue of taking responsibility for our actions.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how Adam blamed Eve and Eve blamed the serpent?
Classic. Right.
It's this age-old pattern of deflection, and it's something we still see all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to blame others
Yeah.
or circumstances than to own up to our mistakes.
Way easier.
But this story suggests that true growth requires us to do the harder thing.
It does.
It does.
It's about acknowledging our missteps,
Right.
learning from them, and moving forward with a greater understanding of ourselves
Yeah.
and the impact of our choices.
So instead of getting stuck in that cycle of blame,
Yeah.
we can choose accountability, right? We can learn from our mistakes
Absolutely.
and use those experiences to make better choices in the future.
Precisely. And there's another fascinating parallel.
Okay.
Remember how the serpent appealed to Eve's desire for knowledge and power,
Yeah.
promising she'd become like God? That
Yeah.
resonates deeply with our world today, where we're bombarded with information
Oh, yeah.
and constantly striving to unlock the secrets of the universe.
It's like we're all on this quest for knowledge
We are.
and expertise, hoping it'll give us an edge,
Mhm.
make us more powerful,
Mhm.
more in control of our lives.
But the story cautions us to consider the potential downsides of this relentless pursuit.
Right.
What are the ethical implications? What are the unforeseen consequences?
Of gaining knowledge without wisdom, of wielding power without compassion.
Exactly.
It's a sobering thought.
It is.
We can get caught up in the excitement of discovery
Yeah.
and forget to ask those essential questions, like
Yeah.
what are the potential costs of our actions?
Right.
Who might be affected by our choices?
It's important to keep those in mind.
It is.
So as you reflect on this ancient tale,
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you to think about your own forbidden fruits.
Ooh, that's good.
What are the temptations that whisper to you, promising knowledge, power, or fulfillment?
Wow.
Are you aware of the potential consequences of those choices?
Right.
And most importantly,
Wow.
are you willing to own those choices?
Both the good and the bad.
Both the good and the bad.
It's a powerful challenge.
It is.
And one that's relevant for all of us, no matter where we are on our journey.
That's right.
The Genesis story, as ancient as it is,
Yeah,
offers this timeless wisdom
it does.
for navigating the complexities
Ah.
of human existence.
Absolutely.
It reminds us that even in a world full of temptation and consequence,
Mhm.
we always have the power to choose,
We do.
to grow, and to find grace.
And that's what makes this story so enduring.
Yeah.
It speaks to the core of what it means to be human, to grapple with choices, to experience the consequences of our actions,
Right.
and ultimately to seek understanding and meaning.
In the midst of it all.
That's it.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Genesis creation story.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's sparked some reflection
I hope so.
and maybe even inspired you to take a closer look at the choices you're making in your own life.
Absolutely.
And as always, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Keep learning.
and keep diving deeper into the mysteries of life. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic to explore together.